guys, Justin at Vintage 55 Restorations here. Just another quick little video. This is a history one. I get a lot of response, feedback, complaining on videos saying, don't use those, they're gonna kill kids. And that I should make some kind of PSA about it. So here's my PSA about it. So firstly, just word of the wise, don't let your kids go into a refrigerator. The problem of refrigerator death syndrome, which was a thing back in the 50s and 60s, was kids going into a refrigerator, closing the door, and then couldn't get out and would asphyxiate. Asphyxiate? Suffocate? Run out of air, whatever that is. And yeah, it's suffocate. And basically they couldn't get back out. And generally, if it's in a kitchen, there's food in it, shelves, you're not gonna have a kid climb into a fridge. It's just not possible. A lot of them you just physically can't because of what's bolted in and what's not. Like Indiana Jones 4, totally couldn't do that. If you watch the freezer box, that's welded in, but it's just magically gone when he jumps in there and gets saved. Can't fit inside one, but a kid can. So basically the problem was, like I said, there was no way of getting back out once you're in. So in 1956, August 2nd, 1956 is when it was passed. The Refrigerator Safety Act of the United States was passed. And basically what that did was it made a mandate that any refrigerator manufacturer had to make it able to open the door from the inside. And there's all sorts of science in it, you know, by a certain amount of push pressure and blah, 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 blah. You know, basically to make it so that a kid could do it. But the bottom line is 56, this passed, and it said you guys can't use mechanical latches anymore. This is a V handle, so it has both sides, but basically all refrigerators before the 60s had a mechanical latch. So, you know, the chunk kind of handle where it grabs it and holds onto it. And that was what it was. They started doing magnetic ones and presser ones because of this act. So 56, like I said, August 56 is when it was enacted. It actually had effective date by October 30th, 1958. That's also in my other video about dating refrigerators, a very effective hinge point on dating. That 58 date, if it has a mechanical handle, it has to be before October 1958, because after that you could not sell one with a mechanical handle. You could get the transitional year ones, like I said, 57, 58 will have, some of them like GE will have press, they turn to like a press tension lock where it's just kind of spring loaded and it goes and holds it, kind of like a cabinet latch. And then there's also the magnetic version, a couple different magnetic versions. And then now, obviously the whole seal is magnetic, and that's what eventually happened. But so there were a couple weird oddball ones, like Admiral tried to get around it by leaving the mechanical latch and basically just putting another little lever inside the door. It was shaped like a little life preserver, and it was called the Admiral Lifeguard. A little bit morbid if you ask me, and it was essentially like what is in a trunk nowadays in a car, where it's a safety release that opens the trunk from the inside. Same thing, you push that and it would open the door from the inside. But I think that was just a quick fix until they retooled to do the other thing. But basically the whole refrigerator industry was like, what are we supposed to do without mechanical latches? And then like the next day they're like, oh, okay, magnets. And so that's kind of what happened. But anyway, it didn't really cut down on the refrigerator death issue. It's not like it was happening everywhere, but the problem wasn't that new fridges didn't let kids out of them. The problem was that old fridges that people were throwing in dumps, putting by in their house, throwing on the curb, unattended fridges, old ones, that was the issue. And so there was still plenty of those around. It didn't mandate that you had to get rid of those. It didn't mandate that it was illegal to have them. It mandated that it was illegal to make them. So in the 60s, then they made another one. California actually had the first one, and that was California Penal Code 402B, and that was abandoning a refrigerator without removing its door. So basically for that, and then there was a federal version of that as well, you had to, when disposing of it or abandoning it, you had to either remove the door or make it not usable as a door. So break the handle, put a padlock lock on it. You could do that. You find that a lot. Or just simply remove the handle or remove the door, like I said. So that actually is what cut down on all of that. And then time of, you know, once they stopped making them, then there was just eventually less of them around. But it didn't completely, you know, solve the problem. Every decade or so since then, there's, you know, a kid or two that finds an old antique refrigerator that somebody has put, you know, behind a field or something, and unattended, you know, neglectfully, and, you know, terrible situation happens where a kid crawls into it and they don't find him for a week. But it is, you know, very rare, and it's always abandoned stuff in fields, in dumps, things like that. There's no risk of, you know, a child crawling into a fully packed refrigerator. It's just, unless you're not watching your kid at all, you know. But the most recent one, I think, was like 2016 in a country in Africa. Obviously they have a lot of stuff around there apparently too that was, you know, made in American factories and shipped over there. And that was actually two kids got into a refrigerator back, and I think it was like 2010, 2012 actually. And that was the last reported case of that. But so that being said, my daughter is probably the most risk of refrigerator death of anybody in the country, being as I have, you know, 100 of these things around in the back of the shop. But I keep my shop locked up. Me and her have talked about it, you know, a lot of times, that it's not safe to do that. And so if my kid's okay, your kid's okay. Just be responsible and be a good parent and be kind. But anyway, Refrigerator Safety Act of 1956. There you go.